we have to remember that and just have an edge to us as we prepare for New York.
The show is Vikings Vent Line. We already have 2 calls on hold, and we will get to you momentarily because this is a show on which, well, we aren't going to sugarcoat anything. That was an embarrassing performance. It's Zulgad, it's Danny Cunningham, Declan Goff producing and also running the streams. We are in the TCL broadcast studio. The number is 651-646-8255, 651-646-8255. And Danny, I think this should be a very interesting day because the realization is that the Vikings have had a chance to beat 2 division foes on the road. And in both cases, I don't think it's an overstatement to say they puked up their opportunities.
Judd, they choked this away. They had an opportunity to go and make a statement in the division, and they let a backup quarterback beat them. They couldn't do anything offensively. They couldn't stop a backup quarterback well enough defensively. This team deserves a lot of blame today, Judd.
Kirk Cousins saw the stat in my buddy Chip Scoggins column today. Kirk Cousins, now in his career, is 5-27 against teams that have winning records.
Not great.
5-27. And the blame certainly can begin there. But as we talked about on the vent line that we did that was streamed yesterday, there is blame to go around to everybody who works in Egan at this point. 651-646-8255. Let's get right to these phone calls, and let's start with Martin. Hey, Martin.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
I'm all right, Martin. How are you?
Good. I'm a season ticket holder from Canada, so I take it quite serious. I drive quite a far distance to come to games. What I've been noticing for years and years is we continue to draft soft players or trade for soft players or sign soft players. It's obvious Riley Reif cannot handle Mac. As soon as Mac was put into this division, the number one priority would be to protect the QB that's not mobile, that cannot extend the play. Last year, 2 years ago, Case can extend the play, so you can move around a little bit to get the guys open on comebacks or just extend the play to actually win the down. This guy cannot even win a first down. And it's so obvious. It's so easy for the Bears. They're just licking their chops because, first of all, Riley cannot handle Mac. It's impossible. Even when they have 2 guys on them, they can't handle it. If Rick wants to save his job, he needs to get Trent Williams here ASAP just to save the season, to have at least a decent left tackle, because realistically, it's not going to get better for Riley Reif. Like, think about it. The division is tougher. Like, Detroit's a tougher team. Everyone's a tougher team. Like, come on, guys. The reality is it's so easy to beat Kirk Cousins. He's one-dimensional. He does not extend the play, and he does not move. He is a statue. And the receivers are wasted talent because he's clueless. This guy is shell-shocked, and he cannot win. He does not have the it factor. Like, face it, he has no it factor to win or take over a game. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah. Can't debate that
Martin
one bit.
thinks they're soft. I'm just glad Vikings Vent Line is international, Judd.
Well, and you know what, though? His angst is well-founded. If you're driving from Canada, my guess is he's probably in Manitoba somewhere, Winnipeg or something. If you're making that trek to come see this team, and again, 2 years ago, you're 13-3 and thinking, I've got season tickets to a team that is on the verge of going to a Super Bowl.
They could win it all.
And then they sign a quarterback to a 3-year, $84 million deal, and that quarterback, he's right. He's a statue there. He takes too long to throw. There's so many problems here. His Reif point, I thought of this as I watched the game yesterday. How does the Vikings brass watch the game in Chicago? I think it was in week 12 last year. And at one point, they literally see Khalil Mack pick up Riley Reif and move him.
Mm-hmm.
How on earth do you watch that game and say, left tackles, we're fine? Now, if Khalil Mack's with Oakland still,
yeah,
and that happens, you might say that's an AFC team. We're not going to see him again. Khalil Mack is a rare type of player.
He's a one of a kind.
And thank God he's in the American Football Conference. Okay, I get that. But we're talking about a guy that you're going to have to play twice a year for the foreseeable future. And in your perfect world, that was, we'll fix Riley Reif.
No, you won't.
It's not fair to anybody.
No, it's not fair to everyone on this team that deserves to win week in and week out. And that being said, there were not very many of them yesterday that deserve to win, but it's not fair to those guys that do grind and try and win these games every week to put them. The front office has put themselves in this position.
And the defense gives up 16 points. Now, that opening drive was too long. I understand that. But the defense still, at the end of the game, gives up 16 points on the road, and you still have no chance. You had no chance, too. That's the other thing. I said on Friday.
It was only 16-6, but it was a blowout.
I said on Friday, the eye test would be important here. because what do we see?
Yeah.
And to the caller's point, to Martin's point, what we saw was, at least on the offensive side of the football, a relatively very soft team.
Judd, they got embarrassed. They got embarrassed yesterday. There's no way to go. There's no other way to say it. Yeah, the deficit was only 10 points, and it could have been a one-possession game had they called a better 2-point conversion play after the Dalvin Cook touchdown, which that's a whole nother thing that we can get into at a later time if we want to. But they were embarrassed. They were out-toughed by Chicago. They were out-coached by Chicago. They were outplayed by Chicago. Everything on the football field, Chicago did it better yesterday.
651-646-8255. Let's go to Kelly, who's been holding. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm still very perturbed, as the gentleman just said before. I'm from Illinois, and I go up to Minnesota two, 3 times a year and watch the games. And I've been a diehard fan for 45, 46 years, and I've never seen a performance like that. With all the things that you've addressed, I'm not going to have to do it no more because you've got it right on the point. You know, a backup quarterback beats you. A lot of starters out on that defense that they have, and they plan for a lot of stuff, and you just don't show up, and again, you get embarrassed. I have a couple questions for you. I want to see what your thoughts on them are.
Sure.
One is, I've noticed in a couple of the games they've lost against Green Bay and Chicago is the play calling. They seem to be like Adam Thielen said, one-dimensional, where they want to keep running the ball, and then when they get behind, they don't have no oomph in them, and they don't start doing very well with the 2-minute hurry-up offense until they get late down the corner. I wanted to know what you guys thought about that, or maybe they should try doing that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe replace the play calling with Mr. Kubiak down there with Stefanski, and maybe is Mike Zimmer running the ball too much to where Kirk Cousins is off on throwing the ball to the receivers, because it showed yesterday with Thielen, and then Diggs, I mean, he fumbled the ball, or that could have been a game changer. And then my other position is, do you think they might bench Kirk Cousins and put someone else in there like Mannion? And what's your thoughts on them letting Slaughter go? Other than that, thank you for everything. I still have faith in the team, but it's going to take a lot to overcome with this game here. So this big game coming up with the Giants this week I think is a season game of whether they're either going to continue to do good or it's going to break them.
Sure.
I want to see your thoughts on all that, and I appreciate your time, gentlemen.
Thanks, sir. I'll start with this. Kirk Cousins is not going to be benched.
No.
Unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt, Kirk Cousins will not be benched.
No.
Not
with that paycheck, not with that backup. Kirk Cousins is going to be the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, barring an injury, until his contract expires.
Play calling. Okay, this is an interesting one.
He makes a good point. They are one-dimensional.
But they are on purpose. Mike has gone out of his way to say this is how we are going to operate. Mike fired DiFilippo because this is what Mike wants. And when you faced a really good team defensively that can stop the run, your star back had 35 yards on 14 carries, which is 2.5 per touch.
Yeah.
But this is what you wanted. And this is Kubiak's. All right.
But what you wanted isn't right. What you wanted isn't going to work when you have to go against a good team. And Kelly brought up the point. The Bears were without 3 starters on defense. They didn't have Akeem Hicks. They didn't have Roquan Smith.
Akeem Hicks someone might have died.
What happens if those guys play?
All right, but let's get the Stefanski-Kubiak thing right. This is Kubiak's offense. Now, Stefanski is supposedly calling plays, all right? But he's doing it with Gary's offense.
It's Gary's playbook.
So if Gary thought to himself, well, I've got this whole passing section that we are going to open up, and Kevin Stefanski doesn't know what he's doing, guess what? He would tell him that, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to absolve Kevin. What I'm saying is this is what the head coach mandated.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary installed his system. Kevin learned Gary's system. And so Kevin is running Gary's system. And the boss of the head guy, Mike Zimmer, said, I want to run. So if they fire Stefanski and put Kubiak in charge, guess what's going to change? Almost nothing. Let's continue down this path. 651-646-8255. TCL Broadcast Studios. We have one phone line open as Vent Line is off to a hot start, and well, it should be. It's our buddy Miguel. Miguel, I'm willing to bet you got some stuff to say about yesterday.
Well, this is the overall thing, man. You guys all have brought up some really good points. I want to first start with what was just said about benching Kirk Cousins, and we're talking about the money and stuff. And you guys brought it up. We just don't have the guy behind him that you would have saw. But That's what Seattle did. Remember, they paid Matt Flynn and then said, goodbye, Matt Flynn. We found our guy.
Yep.
That's why you need to draft quarterbacks every year, the way Green Bay did in the 90s and all in early 2000s, because just in case you get that guy and then you get stuck. I think also you touched on it. The coach wants this running game, and Kirk Cousins can easily throw for 4,000 yards. Almost any quarterback can now. And to think that, this team isn't built for Kirk Cousins, if you will, right? The line isn't there, so you need someone mobile. But the problem is your head coach doesn't want a mobile quarterback guy making plays out the pocket. But we all know in the NFL, and I'm sure that where's our boy P-Mac and his good analytics crew, they could look it up. But I guarantee you most big plays in the NFL are made from outside the pocket. And when you're talking about elite quarterbacks, a lot of their plays, Aaron Rodgers and those guys, a lot of their plays are made from outside the pocket because sometimes the protection breaks down. Everyone doesn't have Dallas's offensive line. And so some of that has to fall on Zimmer and Rick Spielman for if you're not going to put the best offensive line in the world around this guy, and I still don't think he would still be able to succeed with that. But if you're not going to be able to put that, that's why Case Keenum was able to succeed. And people are like, why we get rid of Case? Because he was able to get out and give Diggs and Thielen and those boys a little extra time and make those D-backs cover. And it's harder. Everybody will say that all the time. And so this team has a lot of trouble.
Yep.
And finally, I'll just say, I didn't know, and I love everyone over there, but I don't know where that 11 wins came from when you looked at this team's road schedule. And knowing that if you're winning 11 games, you got to win on the road.
That wasn't us,
3, 4,
Miguel.
5.
Miguel, I
Did
said
you know that,
7-8.
right?
I said 7-8-1.
Hey, all I know is this. The other thing is we're hampering how bad the Vikings looked and stuff. And I'll wrap up. The Bears were horrible as well on offense, okay? It was just two horrible offenses.
Don't talk that way about Chase Daniel. He's the new starting quarterback of the Chicago
Wait a minute.
Bears.
Chase Daniel was the second best QB in that building.
Turnovers. The Vikings gave up the ball on the turnovers, and so that killed you, obviously. But I mean, it was two horrible teams, and that's the point, Judd. You said it. It was Chase Daniels out there, and the Bears minus 3 defensive starters, and the Vikings still couldn't get the W. That speaks volumes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Miguel. Bye. I love Miguel.
Miguel's the best, and he's right about the drafting a quarterback thing, and I think that they need to start looking at quarterbacks right now, whether or not you trust.
I think Collar says that as well.
Whether or not you trust the guys
to
make the decision that are in place is a different story, but you always need to be looking. The Matt Flynn, Russell Wilson situation is a different one. Yes, Matt Flynn got paid, but Russell Wilson was good enough to overtake him. Like, Kirk Cousins isn't going to get benched because Sean Mannion's his backup.
But Miguel's point's a good one.
I agree with him. Yeah,
that's a good point.
But you can't bench Kirk Cousins because you have Sean Mannion behind him. If you had Russell Wilson, a young Russell Wilson behind Kirk Cousins, see ya, Kirk. You're gone. But it's not like that, unfortunately.
Seb, thanks for holding. How are you?
I'm good. Calling you from Fresno, California. Man, I'm
good morning.
Broken, but I still have hope. I think this team has the weapons. I want to talk about our O-line a little bit. Everybody's trashing the O-line, but when you've got 2 premier receivers, an awesome running back, an awesome tight end, I could care less who's on the O-line. Make these playmakers get the ball.
Thank you, Sev. Enjoy Fresno. I'm sure you're warm. So, okay. Where I will side with Sev completely. And this is where Cousins falls apart completely, is the opening drive for the Vikings. And keep in mind, they had 2 first-half possessions in that game yesterday, Danny.
Yeah.
The opening drive for the Vikings, though, featured a third down shot, deep shot that was probably going to be a touchdown to Thielen, and Cousins overthrew that ball.
Can't miss there.
And you can't miss there.
Nope.
You just simply can't miss there. There's no room for, too bad. No, because you don't. When you're the Vikings playing the Bears, this is unfortunate, but it's true. How many chances do you have for that shot? Where there's a clean pocket, where there's protection in place.
2? Maybe.
Right, exactly.
Not many.
But Kirk Cousins is paid like Kirk Cousins is paid to complete that pass.
Yeah.
That's a touchdown. All of a sudden, we're tied at 7, and the entire tone of that game is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the type of thing, too, where yes, it's tough because Riley Reef is getting his lunch handed to him by Khalil Mack. But every once in a while, when you're Cousins, you're paid that much because there's going to be a play that you can definitely make. And you know, for once, you don't hold on to the ball too long. You've got a clean pocket. Everything is perfect. Thielen's going to catch that ball if it's anywhere in his area code.
Judd, that's a throw that any quarterback in the National Football League should be able to make. That's a throw that any quarterback in college should be able to make. That's not a difficult throw to make at all. That was a gimme, and he missed him.
AJ.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
What's up,
That's
AJ?
okay. No worries. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Awesome.
Terrific.
Great. I just had a couple observations from yesterday.
Okay.
One was on those 3rd and short plays. It felt like the cornerbacks were sagging off a lot, and they hit those slants or those curls really easily to get those first downs. And also, I personally have a little bit of a problem running Cook up the middle so much. I feel like it's done a lot better by Alexander Madison. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know that anybody, Dalvin Cook, Madison, Robert Smith in his prime, Adrian Peterson was going to have a ton of success trying to run the ball on Sunday. And that is why there was some talk post game about the fact that the reality is there's going to be times you have to pass.
Well,
you can't just say,
the way you
"We're
are
not gonna
going to
pass
have
at
to
all."
run the ball against a defense like that, you're going to have to be more creative in your running attack than they were. They were not very creative yesterday in how they wanted to run the ball. They just said, we're going to run the ball down your throats. That's what we're going to do. We are just going to run the ball right at you. You have to be more creative. You have to find ways to get Dalvin Cook the ball in space, and they didn't.
Right. And if you are going to run, like if you decide, okay, we are going to, and that, bleep it, we are going to run the football all day, you have to at times employ a 6th lineman.
Yeah.
Like you've got to give them a chance. The Bears didn't have Hicks and still blew you away.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Roquan Smith.
So you had no chance there. So you've got to give those guys, if you're going to say we're going to run, then you've got to employ packages that look a little bit odd, but give you a chance.
You have to set yourself up for success. And they didn't do that. They tried the same recipe that worked against the Falcons and worked against the Packers to an extent and worked against the Raiders. Well, guess what? This Bears defense, guys, is not the same.
No, and you're not going to face this on a weekly basis, but this shows you what you're up against when you face good teams.
It is just like in baseball when the Yankees came to town and faced the Twins. And Judd, what did it show you? It showed you the blueprint for what needs to happen if you're going to be a winning team in the playoffs.
And the Vikings,
that's exactly what yesterday was. And the Vikings, unfortunately, the Twins had an opportunity to go out and fix it, and they chose not to. The Vikings really don't have that opportunity.
651-646-8255, 651-646-8255. The show is Vikings Vent Line. We're actually on until noon, so plenty of time to vent. If you can't get to a phone, you can also reach us via Twitter. We are at Score North. I'm at J Zulgad, Zulgad. Danny is at Real D Cunningham. And also give us the Twitter question of the day that you threw out right before the show, Danny.
The question of the day on my Twitter feed at Real D Cunningham. We've got over 50 responses so far. Just real simple one. Who is most at fault for the Vikings losing to the Bears yesterday? Tons of responses so far.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of responses for Kirk. Simon says Cousins or the offensive line. Chad lists off 6 different people. Andrew said Rick Spielman. Greg said the Vikings defense for injuring Mitch Trubisky. There are a couple of those submissions. And you know what, Greg? I kind of think you're right.
Chase Daniel, 9-year backup, 4 starts, looked really good yesterday.
Yeah, Nathan lists off six reasons, including Cousins, the offensive line, the coaches, penalties, Kirk Cousins, the Hogs up front. Just people are heated today.